Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. I know that we're starting here at 1 o'clock and some people might be just coming back from lunch. So we're going to sit tight here for about 5 minutes just to give everybody an opportunity to join our meeting. Thank you for your patience. While we're waiting for our session to begin, I will note for those of you who've already joined us that this session is going to be recorded and everybody's in a mute, except for me, obviously, is muted until we get to our Q&A portion, and then we'll talk about how you can raise your hand and participate in the discussion. But we'll just be waiting a few more minutes. Thank you so much. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get us started, even though it's 1:04, not 1:05. But I wanted to thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the final of 3 listening sessions hosted by Cal HFA to discuss the California Dream for All program. My name is Nicole Kasabian Evans, and I'll be facilitating our session today. I do want to mention that today's session is going to contain a special focus on Native American tribes and Indigenous people. So as we head into this conversation together, I really hope that we can listen to and amplify the insights of our Indigenous leaders and community members on how we might best shape the California Dream for All program. Before we proceed in the session, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that the California Dream for All program will exist within the occupied territory of over 100 tribes who were the original stewards of the land that we call California today. We honor elders, past, present, and future, and those who have cared for this land for generations. We recognize California's legacy of colonialism and the displacement of Indigenous people. We acknowledge the work that still needs to be done in honoring and preserving Indigenous ways of life and understanding our own place in history. We thank our Indigenous community members for the time and effort they have expended to be here at today's session, and we look forward to engaging in this process together. So as we move into the session, we're going to move to our agenda. We want to give you an idea of how this virtual listening session is going to work, and then experts from Cal HFA will who've been working really hard on the early development of this program will provide you with an overview of the California Dream for All program. They're going to give you some key requirements for the program and some of the implementation goals. And really, what we're really here for and what we're looking forward to is the discussion part here. So once the formal presentation has completed, which won't take too long, we'll have the bulk of this time reserved here today for you to weigh in and provide your input. Because the program isn't fully developed, this is really going to be informative to that process. So before we're going to move to the next slide. So, oh no, sorry, we are not moving in. Before we begin, I just want to give you guys an idea of how this session is going to work. So the session is going to be recorded, and a recording and transcript will be available on the Cal HFA website here at the bottom of our screen, calhfa.ca.gov/dream. That'll be available in a few days. You can watch the recording or read the transcript. If you need any technical assistance during this session, please go to the link at the bottom of the slide, and you'll be able to get some assistance. We'll kick off this meeting with a presentation from the Cal HFA team, and while they're talking, everyone will be muted. And then once again we get into the Q&A portion, people will have an opportunity to be unmuted and speak through their microphone. We will be here for the full 90 minutes. We're going to be here until 2:30, whether we have active discussion happening or not. We've committed to staying for the full time. More information on the program and other ways to submit public comment can also be found on the Cal HFA website I mentioned earlier and is noted on the bottom of the slide. You can do it through a survey. You can send email feedback. So all of that will be available and accessible through that website. After this, so I do want to mention too, as you're hearing this presentation from Cal HFA in a few moments, this program is still in development. So as I said, your comments today will inform that development. All your questions cannot be answered at this point in time. I just want you to know that. So when you're thinking about and listening to the presentation, and then we head to that public comment portion, I really want to encourage everybody to think about providing input phrased as a recommendation or something for consideration or a comment or raising an issue or a barrier or an opportunity versus asking a question, because honestly, at this point in the game, there aren't a lot of answers to questions. So understanding where you're coming from or what your thinking is or what your recommendations are would be very, very helpful at this point in time and may influence the development of the program. So with that, I'm going to get started with our presentation. I'm going to give you a little overview of how we got here today to this point in time. So we'll go to the next slide now. I was a little ahead of myself before, but so recognizing that housing costs in California are exceptionally high, leaders in the state have been working very hard to address our affordability issues and many different aspects of our housing challenges. In terms of affordability though, California Treasurer Fiona Ma worked with California Forward to develop an innovative shared appreciation lending program to help make home ownership more attainable for many Californians, especially low to moderate first-time home buyers, with a particular focus on communities that have been locked out of home ownership historically. That concept, which was created through AB 140, and then that concept was adopted through the state budget process through our Senate President Pro Tem and resulted in a $500 million budget proposal that was embraced by our legislative leaders and our governor. With the budget passing this summer, the responsibility shifted over to Cal HFA. They have been tasked with designing, implementing, and ensuring the program and ensuring that it's sustainable. And so that's really how we ended up here today. We're really at the early stages of, again, program development. And you're going to learn a little bit more about that right now from Ellen Martin with Cal HFA. She's the Director of Business Development and Stakeholder Relations, and she's going to tell you a little bit more. Thank you, Ellen.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Nicole. So I'll spend just a bit of time offering an overview of the California Dream for All program. I'll start with what a shared appreciation loan is, and then I'll move into the statutory requirements for the program and end with a brief overview of our goals as we implement the program. So the Dream for All program is a revolving shared appreciation loan program that provides loans for a down payment to qualified home buyers. Upon sale or transfer of the home buyer will repay the original down payment loan plus a share of the appreciation or the increase in the value of the home. So hypothetically, if under the Dream for All program, Cal HFA provides a shared appreciation loan that amounts to 20% of the home's purchase price, the borrower would then repay that 20% plus 20% of any appreciation in the value of the home, which means that the consumer will retain about 80% of the appreciation in the home's value. Next slide, please. So the typical features of a shared appreciation loan really have a lot of similarities to the existing Cal HFA down payment assistance programs. Like our current down payment assistance programs, these loans typically are subordinate to the first mortgage. We anticipate that the shared appreciation loan will be used to provide down payment assistance as well as to fund closing costs, again, just like our current down payment programs. And then finally, the loan becomes due upon the sale, the refinance, or the transfer of the subject property. So the primary difference with a shared appreciation loan product is that the cost to our borrowers will essentially and effectively be variable. So that's different than our existing My Home down payment assistance programs, which charge simple interest at a fixed rate of 1%. So instead, under a shared appreciation loan structure, the effective interest rate on the loan would be equal to the average annual rate of real estate appreciation. So over the long term, we know that real estate appreciation has averaged about 4 to 5% annually. But we also all know that that rate can be very variable and quite spiky. We saw real estate values plunge by 35% in 2008, and we saw real estate values spike by nearly 40% from, in the time period between 2018, 2019 to 2021. So these two examples are clearly outliers that are attributable to the unique circumstances associated with the great financial crisis and the COVID-19 pandemic. But they really serve to underscore how variable home price appreciation can be, which will absolutely have implications for our Dream for All borrowers and for the program design process. So these anecdotes kind of help to highlight some of the challenges that we face in terms of implementing a shared appreciation program, which we need to disclose and discuss that up until this point, shared appreciation has not really been a widely used approach to expand access to homeownership at the scale that we're contemplating here. So California, as always, is really on the leading edge of innovation, but we here at Cal HFA do acknowledge that this approach is unproven on a large scale. And so as we're moving through this implementation process, it's sort of all the more important that we are deliberate and thorough. And we're certainly glad to have the opportunity here today to hear from members of the public and to hear from our stakeholders about how we should shape this program and to have the opportunity to receive that input. So moving on to the next slide, the 2022-23 state budget established the Dream for All program and allocated about $500 million to the program over a 2-year period. And then, as Nicole said, designated the California Housing Finance Agency as the administrator of the program. So the authorizing statute sets forth the broad parameters for the California Dream for All program that are identified on this slide, and include sort of these specific requirements that we have up here. So the Dream for All program must include a shared appreciation loan feature. The objective is to expand access to home ownership by helping low and moderate income home buyers that are purchasing owner-occupied homes. Importantly, the design of the loan product should not unreasonably impede wealth creation through home ownership for participating home buyers. Also importantly, the program should maximize the number of households that are assisted over time. So we need to ensure that the funds that we use to help one homeowner are then recycled as they're repaid to help future homeowners. The shared appreciation loan must be paired with a CalHFA first mortgage. And one important note, I think, to make at this point, because FHA does not allow shared appreciation loans, unfortunately, this product cannot be used with the Section 184 loan. Based on secondary market considerations that really shape a lot of our loan products, we think it's likely to only be available with conventional mortgages. And then finally, because shared appreciation loans are a complex financial product, the program design needs to include adequate consumer protections and disclosures that will ensure that the consumer understands their loan. Next slide, please. Okay, so the next series of slides we'll walk through how a shared appreciation loan program works, how the appreciation would be shared between the homeowner and the Dream for All fund, and then how the proceeds from a sale are distributed. And then finally, how the revenues from the shared appreciation loan product are then recycled to help the next homeowner. So here on this slide, we have this house, which illustrates the original purchase of a home valued at about $500,000. The Dream for All fund provides a 20% down payment, and the first mortgage funds the rest of the purchase price at $400,000. Next slide, please. Fast forward 5 years, the value of this home has appreciated from the original $500,000 to $640,000. So that means that this home has experienced about $140,000 in price appreciation. That appreciation is split between the homeowner and the Dream for All fund, with the homeowner receiving 80%, which is about $112,000, and the Dream for All fund receiving $28,000. Next slide, please. So when this homeowner goes to sell this home at $640,000, they will owe the payback on the shared appreciation loan will be equal to the original amount of the loan, that $128,000, plus the program share, or excuse me, that $100,000, plus the program share of appreciation, which is the $128,000, for a total of $128,000. That's the Dream for All loan payback. There's remains a balance on the first mortgage in the amount. Originally the first mortgage was $400,000. The property owner has been making principal payments on that first mortgage over the last 5 years. So the balance is now on that first mortgage is now $370,000. And if we go to the next slide, we'll show a breakout of the homeowner equity piece. So the homeowner benefits in terms of equity in the home, so essentially this idea of wealth accumulation through home ownership, and their benefit constitutes two factors. The first is their share of appreciation, their 80% share of appreciation, which we already talked about, the $112,000, and then also the amount of principal payments that they've made on that first mortgage. So they've made $30,000 in first mortgage payments, and those two factors added together constitute the homeowner equity, or the wealth that this homeowner has been able to accumulate through these first 5 years of home ownership. Next slide, please. And so then this slide illustrates how those funds that are received by the program to pay back that original Dream for All loan, that $128,000, are then recycled to help the second homeowner by providing a 20% down payment for a commensurately priced home. So we have homeowner one selling their home for $640,000, paying back the Dream for All Fund in the amount of $128,000. And then the Dream for All Fund uses that $128,000 to fund another 20% down payment for a commensurately priced home. Next slide, please. So with those statutory requirements and the structure of how shared appreciation works in mind, we've established the implementation goals that are outlined here on this slide. So fundamentally, the goal of the program is to increase access to home ownership for low and moderate income Californians. And the Dream for All program would do that by offering larger down payment assistance that helps home buyers to compete and to access housing in a highly competitive market. So relatedly, and this is what we talked about on the last series of slides, another goal of the program is to provide those opportunities for wealth accumulation through home ownership, that ability to gain equity in a home that allows a homeowner to grow their wealth. Next is minimizing financial risk to the consumer, to the state, and to the agency by building in the safeguards and the features that can help us to blunt the effects of real estate market volatility, and importantly, ensuring that consumers are financially equipped for the responsibility of homeownership. We talked about the fact that a key tenet of the Dream for All model and a statutory requirement is ensuring that those funds are recycled, that those monies that come back to the fund are that those monies come back to the fund, and that they do so at a rate that is sufficient to provide similar levels of assistance to future home buyers. And that's what we were trying to illustrate in that earlier diagram. And then again, because we know that shared appreciation is a very complex financial construct, it's not something that a lot of folks have experienced. We know that we need to make sure that consumers are fully educated regarding what they're signing up for, and that we remain in contact with them regarding their obligations over the entire term of the loan. And then finally, we need to design the program here at the agency such that we can effectively operationalize it over the long term. So I do want to acknowledge, sort of at the outset of this program design process, that there's really a number of contradictions and conflicts that are inherent in both the statutory and program objectives that I just talked about. So for example, we're trying to increase access to home ownership, but we're also trying to minimize financial risk to the consumer, to the state, and to the agency. But to the extent that we increase access to home ownership, we also need to make sure that we use care to ensure that the loans that we're making are not at a higher risk of default, because that would present a major financial risk to both the consumer and the state. Similarly, this program is really focused on increasing wealth, but we're also trying to make sure that the funds are recyclable. So there are provisions that we could consider in the way we structure the payback of that shared appreciation component that could create additional equity for the home buyer. But the flip side to that is that that'll result in reduced program revenues, and it could limit our ability to sell these loans on the secondary market, which could be a key to ensuring the recyclability of funds and the availability of funds for the next set of home buyers. So we know as we're working through these program parameters that there are any number of trade-offs to be made. And we here at the agency are absolutely committed to balancing these sometimes competing objectives and making choices to design an effective and an efficient program. And we're really looking forward to hearing from all of you on that front. Your advice and input is really integral to this process. So with that, I would like to hand things back over to Nicole to introduce the public comment portion of today's call.
Thank you, Ellen, and thank you for your excellent presentation. It definitely shed a little more light onto the program and was really helpful. I hope it helped everybody who is joining us today think about the questions they may have, or I'm sorry, not questions, comments, input feedback that they might have for us today. So as we head into this public comment portion of our meeting, I just want to remind all of you, the plan is in development. We don't have answers to your questions, even though what I just said, and really would appreciate your feedback and input. So as we start taking your comments and input, just to let you know, you are muted. You'll be unmuted, but you also need to unmute from your end on your computer if you've done so. And if you want to ask a question, there's a little hand raised feature here on your webinar that you can raise your hand, and then Courtney will call your name when it's your turn to ask your to make your comment. Thank you. So again, please press the raise hand button on your screen and we'll ask you to provide comment. We do ask that you try to keep it to 3 minutes. We want to make sure everyone has an opportunity to speak. If there's extra time at the end, because we are staying until 2:30, and you think of something else you wanted to say, you'll have, I predict you'll have plenty of time to come back again. So I will ask Courtney to start taking our first questions. And also I should mention, you can provide feedback a few ways. You can write your question here through the webinar, or you can speak your question. You can also email a question to us at feedback@calhfa.ca.gov. And then there's also a survey tool on the website here at calhfa.ca.gov/dream. I will say, with our special focus again on Native American tribal communities, we're really hoping to get your input on how you think this program can work best for your communities. And so we look forward to your feedback as well. So I'll turn it over to Courtney at this point.
Okay, we don't have any raised hands at the moment, but we did receive a question. Is there a tentative timeline for implementation of the program?
Well, it wouldn't be one of these sessions without that timeline question. So I will just jump in, and we predicted that was coming. And just to let you know, again, the program is in development. I think it's too early to provide you with a timeline. However, we do have at the calhfa.ca.gov/dream website, there's also an opportunity to sign up for an e-newsletter. And in that e-newsletter, you will be getting all the latest updates, breaking news, what is happening with the program. So the best way to stay on top of that timeline once it's settled and finalized is that will be released through the e-newsletter. So please, please be sure to sign up for that e-newsletter.
Okay, we have a comment from Dave Cade. Please unmute your mic and go ahead.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon. Thanks for having us today. I was at the listening session last week and got a lot of good information from that. I'm still unclear about how the lending would work in tribal communities, especially on tribal trust land and allotment lands. And the other, just one comment I have, I think if we're looking at getting tribes involved with this, that there should be consideration given to having a tribal set aside of funding for loans in Indian country. Thank you.
Okay, Dave, thank you. That's a helpful comment. And in terms of, you know, how to structure, I think I remember you did participate in the last session as well, and thank you for that. If you have, and maybe I won't put you on the spot right now, but if you want to take some time to think about that issue related to how the lending could work for tribes, for that would be great. If you want to think about that a little bit and offer any kind of insights that you can to CalHFA, I think it would be greatly appreciated.
Okay, Nicole, our next comment is going to come from Max Huser. Please unmute your mic, Max, and go ahead with your comment.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
I can, Max, thank you.
Oh, terrific. Yeah, I actually posted my questions there in the chat there, but I was curious to know what's the income limits for the folks that want to be able to apply for this program?
We'd love to get your input on the income limit. I know that typically Cal HFA, for their programs, they look at 150% of AMI. So that's would be something to think about. But if you have any other recommendations that you want to provide, not necessarily putting you on the spot again, but if you want to think about it and submit that through the email feedback, that'd be great.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. I can definitely try to submit some feedback through those forums you guys provided.
Great. Thank
Thanks
you,
for the
Matt.
info.
And Nicole, at this time, I'm not seeing any raised hands and we don't have any submitted questions.
All right, thank you, Courtney. Well, we can, maybe some of you are pondering and thinking about the great presentation Ellen just gave. So we'll hang out here for a few minutes. I will say in the meantime, we do have some prompts here for you to consider. We'll switch to that slide here. If we can move the slide, there we go. We've got some feedback prompts here for you to consider. If you have thoughts about either or any of these 4 prompts, one, all, whichever, we'd love to hear from you on these topics in particular, as well as anything else that might be on your mind.
And we have another comment. It's going to be from Karen Gatos. Please unmute your mic and go ahead with your comment.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. This is Karen Gatos from Pikes Peak Capital and National Diversity Coalition. I have it seems like my comment is sort of related to bullet point number 3. And this is general, I think it applies to tribal communities, and I think it applies to just like general barriers. So the first one, and this is actually like a question just to confirm, because I read the white paper that might have been prepared by this group or somebody else, and then I listened to one of the sessions. This is my first time being able to attend a live one, but I thought I remembered that the minimum credit score is 660 because the intention is to sell the loans to Fannie Mae. Is that right?
Well, I will say this, the white paper, first of all, the white paper was written by, I believe you're referring to the one written by California Forward. That really was a very helpful stage setting, I think, that Cal HFA is working from, but it's not necessarily going to follow that white paper exactly. And it looks like Ellen has a little bit more to add.
Yeah, I was going to confirm that you're right. The white paper prepared by California Forward provided us with just a fantastic jumping off point. We really value and appreciate all the work that they did. And so we've sort of been going through that paper almost line item by line item and evaluating the program design parameters that would fit best within Cal HFA's existing lending infrastructure. And so to answer your question, because the shared appreciation loan has to be paired with a Cal HFA first mortgage, that first mortgage will need to be a conforming loan product.
With a minimum credit score of 660?
Cheryl Angst is on the line, and I think she is probably best equipped to talk about credit scores. Cheryl?
Correct. Our minimum credit score is 660 for borrowers with income limits of 80% AMI or less, and it is 680 for borrowers with a income limit greater than 80%, up to 150.
And I thought it was like the first call, this is what I was listening to that's posted on the website. I thought the kind of like long-term plan for the loan was because it was limited by Fannie Mae, right? They were going to purchase the loans.
Correct.
Okay. My thought here is many low-income borrowers, low-income prospective homeowners, in my experience, have credit scores less than 660. And so the question is there a way to help borrowers that have a lower credit score than that? And so I understand, and it's actually a brilliant design, and it's extremely efficient to sell the loans to Fannie Mae. But my idea is, if there could be if the loan limit could be lowered, or the credit score could be lowered to 580 to like match an FHA loan, and if there was a subset of those loans that were either held on the Treasury's balance sheet or sold to somebody else, not Fannie Mae, but that would allow you to lower the credit score. And maybe if it felt like you don't want to accrue too many of those loans because they seem riskier, you could set a cap to the number of those loans in the portfolio, like 15 or 20%. But that would allow more people to be served, because my concern with the current design is that it's going to be a product that bridges homeownership for moderate income Californians, and that's great. Actually, we need attainable housing, but unless there's maybe some flexibility on the credit score side, and I actually think on the loan side as well, I have another idea related to that, which I can share at a different time. But I think if we have some flexibility there on the credit score, it would be more likely to be able to actually serve more low-income borrowers.
Karen, thank you for that. That's really great input, and I appreciate that you've put thought into your comment and have something concrete to recommend to Cal HFA. I think that's really helpful. Thank you.
And Nicole, at this time, there are no other hands raised.
Okay. Karen, if you want to come back and offer the other item that you wanted to recommend as well, we have time. We're going to be here till 2:30 if you have time.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Okay. Thank you guys so much. So then the next area, the barrier that I thought would be related to the loan limit. Now, I understand the goal is the minimum is like 17% or 20% to allow the borrowers to get off primary mortgage insurance, which is huge and really reduces their total loan payment. The concern I have is that the average California home that I was looking at in June was average home sale price is $865,000. It's actually higher than what was in the white paper. And a lot of, like, the white paper did a really good job of showing what type of income it would take to afford the median home in many locales. And unfortunately, there's just so many communities in California that require at least like 120%, 150% AMI, even with 20% down. And so that's a barrier to serving low income folks, because generally low income borrowers are considered to have 60% AMI. So my idea related to this was to increase that loan limit, potentially up to like 40%. It sounds like a lot, and I know some of the concern generally is you don't want to be taking away economics from the borrower.
Right.
And so I totally respect that. I'm kind of like straddling the for-profit and the nonprofit sectors, and so I really appreciate that sensitivity to like the borrower being able to build wealth. That being said, some of these people are simply shut out of homeownership altogether, and so their only other option is renting. And my thought was, like, if it's really a concern and you guys are like, maybe we can't do this, it's too much, maybe it's predatory, I would encourage like a survey or something of low income borrowers to see, like, would you rather rent? Would you rather, like, how would you feel about 40% shared equity? Like, would that be too much for you? Or would you just appreciate the opportunity to get into a home, and would you just be happy to have that?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I appreciate that you're looking at both sides of the coin and offering your input, because it's challenging. It's very challenging. The trade-offs that Ellen talked about are, very real. So thank you.
Yeah, and there's other products in California, I think, like other programs that are really focused on keeping the affordable housing stock. But what's so great about this one is that it's really focused on the borrower and wealth building. But I'm just concerned that this will help build up the moderate income folks, and I'm concerned about leaving the low income ones behind.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Thank you, Karen. Thanks for your concern and creative thinking. Thank you.
Next, we're going to go to Dave Cade. Unmute your mic, please, when you're ready, and go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. We currently, at the Dry Creek Rancheria, we currently have a home buyer assistance program. It's funded with Indian Housing Block Grant money. And we provide an $80,000 and help with closing costs and any required down payment. For most years, recent years, that's worked, but in the last couple of years, it's getting harder and harder to find affordable stock for our members. So what I wanted to ask is look at the feasibility of blending these funds with tribal funds, where people would have more money to make an initial down payment. The challenge I see there is that most of our folks that are participating in home ownership tend to get Section 184 loans. And if I recall right, these were limited to Fannie and Freddie loans. One of the advantages of Section 184 is it's not credit score driven. And so the lender decides based on HUD rules.
I see.
Qualified. So, you know, I'm just seeing these kind of barriers pop up. And when you're working with Indian communities, they tend to have lower incomes, at least around here in California.
Yeah.
So I kind of echoing what was just said. It would be good if we could find a way that we could serve the lower income populations with a program like this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. Thank you. And thanks for those recommendations. Very helpful.
There are no further hands at this time.
Okay. We've got another 45 minutes or so left here, so we will sit tight. Thank you. I will just take a minute here while we're waiting and seeing if any other comments are going to be shared during the session, is just to encourage you again to sign up for the e-newsletter. Don't forget to do it. Maybe you can do it right now while we're all kind of hanging out together. You can go online and sign up for that e-newsletter at calhfa.ca.gov/dream. And that will ensure that you're kept abreast of all the latest developments regarding this program, the timeline, any key decisions that are made. So, and I know that Ellen had said at a prior session, you know, this is really going to be an ongoing dialogue, ongoing process. So this is really at a very preliminary stage, and as they go deeper, definitely want to keep the public updated and involved and engaged. So the e-newsletter is a great way to go to make sure you're kept in the loop. As well, again, we want to hear from everybody. There are at least 3 ways to contribute your input here today live at our session. You can also submit a written email to us at feedback@calhfa.ca.gov, or you can complete a survey on the CalHFA website at calhfa.ca.gov/dream. And we're going to take every single bit of feedback we receive. We're recording the session. We're making sure we note all the comments. We'll take it back, and I know Ellen and her team will really think hard on all of them and consider how to build the most viable a program that serves those low to moderate income homeowners and allow them to achieve home ownership and build wealth, which is our goal here. As we wait to see if anyone else has any more comments, I want you to know I'm going to turn my camera off, but I am here with you. I'm not gone just because you can't see me. And we have a team who are staying online and monitoring to see if any more hands go up or any other questions are submitted. Hi, everybody. Again, we put these prompts back up here for you to think about and consider. We'd love to hear your thoughts about each of them. We'd like to get your thoughts about how to manage the trade-offs. I know we've already had some discussion about that, right? They're difficult and not easy decisions to make. So we'd love to get your thoughts about that. Look at how we can leverage the strengths of a shared appreciation program. Get your thoughts about that. We've talked about already some barriers, and Karin has provided us with some ideas about how to overcome some of those barriers again, and Dave, and would love to hear from more of you. And then, of course, we really do have a big responsibility in getting the word out and ensuring that homeowners and consumers are educated about these programs. And so love your input too on outreach and how we can best ensure that Californians know about this program and that they understand it. So food for thought.
Nicole, we have a question from, or comment from Karen. Karen, I'm going to go ahead and unmute yourself and go ahead with your comment.
Hello, welcome back.
Hi, thanks again. Yeah, I was thinking about the outreach and the marketing as well. I've actually given a decent bit of thought about that, but before I share any ideas, I just wanted to kind of understand how the first and the second would work in conjunction with each other. Is the idea that, I guess, how do the homeowners find out about the Cal HFA first lien mortgages right now? Is it through a network of mortgage originators or through the website, or how are they currently finding out about those loans?
I am going to see if anybody from Cal, yeah, Ellen, yay, thank you.
Hi there. Yeah, Karen, thank you so much for the question. So yes, it is anticipated at this point that the Dream for All loan would be accessed through CalHFA's existing delivery system and lending infrastructure. So essentially the way that works is we have a number of CalHFA approved lenders that are published on our website, and a homeowner would contact one of those loan officers in pursuit of obtaining a first mortgage, and those loan officers would also then be able to qualify the borrower for the Dream for All shared appreciation loan.
Okay, and is there any like barrier for those loan officers to like refer the borrower onto the shared appreciation loan product? Would there be any reason they couldn't like also advertise that product?
Yes, so that will definitely be part of how these products are marketed, is through the lender network.
Okay.
We'll have sort of our own outreach and marketing and communications, but yeah, like with all of our programs, probably the most efficient and sort of point of contact with the consumers is through our lenders.
Okay. Yeah, because what I had been thinking about was like housing counselors and local CDFIs, but I'm not sure like if there's already an efficient, if there's sort of like an oversubscription already on the first lien mortgages, and many borrowers clamoring for those, wouldn't they just also immediately be referred on to the shared appreciation loan and there's no more need for outreach? Or do you guys actually see outreach as a barrier?
We see outreach as an integral part of program implementation because we want to make sure that any qualified borrower is aware of this opportunity. And so we're not going to rely solely on our lender network to advertise this program. We will absolutely have a marketing and outreach plan that includes, you know, community-based organizations, CDFIs, sort of basically all the aspects of the housing ecosystem to make sure that we are spreading the word far and wide. And I should mention that we'll also include sort of, you know, digital advertising, social media, traditional marketing as well as part of that. So we certainly welcome any suggestions you have about what types of organizations are best equipped to reach consumers, particularly consumers that perhaps have been underrepresented in the mortgage market up until this point. So we want to make sure that we're not just reaching the consumers that already sort of know about CalHFA's programs and are already well served by other mortgage products out there, but we also want to make sure that we're offering and elevating this opportunity with communities that have perhaps been underserved in the past. So I think where you're headed, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm hoping that you have some suggestions for community networks and organizations that can really help us in our efforts to get this word out.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think my ideas were more in a general sense, like CDFIs, local housing counseling agencies would be big ones, even like local churches. I'm very interested what the other people on this call would suggest specifically for the tribal communities, but I just wanted to reiterate that I think getting the product to jive with their population is going to be really important for actually reaching the tribal community, because it sounds like they're currently using loans that aren't compatible with this product.
Yeah, you're absolutely right on that point, and I agree. It would be great to hear from other folks on the line about, how best to reach these communities, and also recommendations on how this product can jive with the loan opportunities that folks are using.
Don't be shy. We still have 34 minutes. We'd love to hear from anyone else, especially those of you who haven't chimed in today. Not to put you on the spot, though. If you prefer to submit your comment in writing, that's fine too. But we're here for another 30 minutes or so. everybody. I'm still here, just letting you know that we're still here. It's 2:01 and we're going to be here till 2:30. So if you have any input related to these prompts that we've provided or other items, we're still all ears. Again, you can submit written comments at feedback@calhfa.ca.gov/dream, or you can complete the survey at the website calhfa.ca.gov/dream. Don't forget to sign up for that e-newsletter so we can keep you updated on all the latest with the California Dream for All program. We'll just get quiet and hang out a little bit longer. Thank you. I'm back. Thank you again for all staying for so long during our session here today. Again, we're thrilled that you could come and hear the presentation and provide your input. Now that we're at that feedback portion of the meeting where we have our final 20 minutes left in the session, we would love to hear from any of you. We'd appreciate comments, input, thoughts about the California Dream for All program and how you can, and what your thoughts are on how we can best build a program that serves low to income households who want to become first-time homebuyers. We can protect and lift up their opportunity to build wealth while at the same time creating a sustainable fund that can pay it forward and help more and more first-time home buyers achieve that dream of home ownership. Just love to hear from you. We'll be here until 2:30. If it helps, if anybody's interested in seeing any of the prior slides, want to take a closer look at any of those slides, please type it into the chat and we can put whatever slide number you'd like to see back up on the screen.
Nicole, we have received a question that I will go ahead and read out loud when you're ready.
I'm here.
Okay, it says, hi, I found out about this program just on my own. How are you notifying tribal housing departments?
Well, this program is really just still a program that's in development. So that is actually one thing that if you look here at the prompts on the screen, one thing in particular we'd love input on is how we can better notify and educate Californians about this program, making sure that they understand this kind of a loan We would love your idea and thoughts on how we can best do that. If you even have a list you want to provide us with, that's always appreciated. We try to do our best. We don't have all the lists and all the names all the time, so we'd be really happy. And if you don't want to put that information, obviously, in this public chat, we have an email address you can send feedback to. It's at, I think we have that here, one of the slides, I think the next slide. It is feedback@calhfa.ca.gov. You can also complete a survey about this program and provide some input, or do so through this last of our listening sessions. I don't know if somebody can advance the slides to put the contact information slide back up. I think it's the last slide in the deck.
Nicole, although they didn't reference which slide they would like to see, we did get a request that it would be great to see the slides. They joined late.
Oh, okay. I can't give a presentation. I'm not Ellen. I can't pretend to be. She is amazing and so smart. But I think we can go through some of the key, we'll just work through these kind of slowly and give everyone an opportunity to take another look through them. Also, a recording of this session and a transcript will be posted on the Cal HFA website in a few days. So here, this website at the bottom of the screen, calhfa.ca.gov/dream, and you will be able to watch this and any of our 2 prior sessions, hear the discussion, see the input. I will say the first session, after that session, we updated the deck to include the examples that Ellen ran through here earlier today, where you kind of really got to see the concept of a shared appreciation loan come to life. So I encourage you to really maybe watch session 2 or 3 or both if you're going to go back and look at the prior sessions. The first one was excellent, but we made it even more excellent with those additional slides. And to go back to that question about ensuring, that the tribes know about these programs, if you have recommendations on how we notify the tribes, or again, have a list or contact recommendations or outreach recommendations in particular for tribal communities, but really any community as well. If you want to put that in an email to us, that would be wonderful. I know that we did have a pretty good list of tribal organizations on our announcement email that went out through our e-news. I also want to mention to the individual who wrote that question that there is an e-news sign up for all the latest information about the program. Updates and developments will be sent out through that e-news tool. And so not only for yourself, but if you have others who you think might be interested in this program and keeping up to date with the development, I would encourage you or others to sign up for that e-news. We were just working slowly through the various slides that we showed, the slides that we showed earlier in order. These are the implementation goals. Ellen explains them so well. I really do encourage you to go back and watch the session. And I think, again, going back to the person who said they're concerned others aren't aware, or I think what I'm taking away is they're concerned others aren't aware of this program. Again, these are really the earliest stages of development for the program. So it's really a great time to get a better list if you have ideas of folks we should be notifying, because there will be future updates and more information coming out before this program's finalized. That's the last, this implementation goal slide is the last of the substantive slides really that went over the meat of the presentation related to the California Dream for All development of the program. So as you saw while you were watching, really, you might be wondering, well, what is it? What are the details? And the point we kind of made early on is that this is, again, early stages. The details, the fine details haven't all been worked out really, which is why we're holding these public sessions now in order to get really important input that could help inform the further development of the program. So we wanted to do these public sessions early on in the process so we could benefit from the thinking of so many of you. We have just about 10 minutes left in this session today. I really appreciated, again, really thoughtful conversation. This is the third one that I've hosted, and I really do love seeing how many people are really invested in bringing the dream of home ownership to more and more Californians. It's very challenging in a high-cost state like ours, and to know that so many people are working to find solutions or options and open up home ownership, the opportunity to build generational wealth, to focus on communities that haven't had that opportunity before, who have historically been locked out of home ownership, is great. I think if we can keep that feedback slide up here till we get to the end, that would be super.
And Nicole, we did receive a written comment, which I will go ahead and read right now. It would be good to take a field trip and personally visit communities with any of the information that CalHFA can provide. Maybe go as a vendor at the holiday markets where you'll be exposed to multiple communities.
Well, that is helpful. We did have one of our prompts were questions about how to best communicate with people about this program and ensure that they understand it. So it's helpful to hear your recommendation on some ways that we can get this information into the hands of the people who might benefit from it. This is the contact information. This is where this is how you can let us know and share your information with us. We'll stay here until 2:30 today. Thank you. We know everybody's very busy. We all have a lot on our plate, so we are grateful that you all took the time to come and join the session today to think thoughtfully about how we can best develop this program and provide your really important feedback. It's It's appreciated, and I'm sure the homeowners who eventually benefit from this program will be appreciative as well. They won't know it, but secretly, deep down, appreciative. They don't really always realize all that goes into developing these kinds of programs. Well, I think there might be some more information in the chat area. I'm not really good at functioning this or working this function. Courtney, I think, getting notified that there might be additional input provided.
I think it's in the question from, it would be good to take a field trip and personally visit communities with any of the information that Cal HFA can provide. Maybe go as a vendor at the holiday market. Oh, we've already read this one, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you, Mark. There's something about emails and flyers, and I will say all of the questions and comments that are submitted here today will be noted and pulled down. I can't quite see where that is. I'm so sorry. I'm not as functional
Nicole,
on the. Yeah,
I have
sorry.
it. I'll read it for everyone. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I didn't hear about any of the California housing programs from my tribe. I would suggest sending emails, flyers, and anything else at your disposal.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thanks, Courtney. And thank you to the person who submitted that. Helpful. Looks like we've lost a few people as we head here to close to the end of our program. We've got about 5 more minutes, but I'll stay on until we hit the 2:30 mark. I am here and ready for any input. Got just a couple more minutes left, but we're hanging out. We have just 3 more minutes left. Would love to hear from any of you if you have any last final thoughts for us. All right, we're down to our last minute, so I'm going to start to wrap things up. Thank everybody for joining us. This is the final of 3 sessions that Cal HFA has hosted to talk about the California Dream for All program. Further developments will be sent out through the e-newsletter that can be found at calhfa.ca.gov/dream. That's your go-to source for everything on the California Dream for All program. Please submit any additional feedback to feedback@calhfa.ca.gov and complete our survey at the website I gave previously. Thank you for your time. Thanks for giving us the opportunity to share the information regarding the program, and all input that is to come in further days is appreciated. We'll have our transcript and recording up on the website in a couple days. And it's 2:30, so I'm going to sign off and say goodbye, everyone. Thank you for your time.